AI in creative spaces is one of the most controversial topics of this generation, honestly. A lot of people don't think it belongs in creative spaces. A lot of people think it's going to overrule people. And can robots without a brain of their own really be creative and connect in the same way? She's going to tell us how she uses AI to accelerate her musical talent and how AI, technology and music can work in harmony and create beautiful things when it does. She's also a global MC. I've bumped into her twice now and plan to many more times in the future. She is an absolute icon, a MC, journalist, host, above all, musician, tech and AI guru. It's LJ Rip.
Oh my goodness, your background is excellent.
Thank you. First couple of interviews, they were all like hanging off, and I think I got told off, so somebody came in and fixed it for me while I was gone. So, LJ, you're a journalist, producer, inventor, creator, MC, like literally everything, like jack of all trades. But on top of everything, you're a musician, right? So, how are you doing for a start? How are you? What you been up to?
Oh, wow, it's so lovely to see you. And we're always meeting in these exotic places, about to go on stage to talk about the future with the capital F. And we connected straight away, didn't we?
Oh my god, 100%. Like, yeah, we've met like twice now. Well, first it was Dubai, or maybe even Abu Dhabi. And then, where were we last time? Switzerland.
Switzerland, yes.
When you were hosting United Nations, pretty
Oh,
chill. You know.
I still think, oh my goodness, I'm allowed to do this incredible thing, host the United Nations AI for Good Global Summit, and I meet people who are just mind-blowingly interesting. Of course, when I met you, I thought you would be absolutely brilliant to blow the minds of everybody working, watching, just being part of that event.
No wonder they keep getting you back, because I just remember being like, girl, this woman's energy, the way you're on the stage, well, I don't know, you probably rock up at like 7 a.m, it's like late night, and then you're always at the after party as well, and I was just like, when does this girl actually sleep? We love tech, we love AI, but your first love is music. So like, how did you get into music? Was that always something you wanted to do from a young age, and how did that slowly, or maybe quickly, integrate with technology?
Oh, it's such a lovely question, because for me, music is the first thing that I think of through all of the stuff that I do. And I was probably 3 years old when I started to play the piano, apparently. I could play things
Whoa.
off of the radio, and I can hear things and tell you the chords at the same time.
Perfect pitch.
Yeah, I've got perfect pitch. I've got one of those kind of amazing musical brains that is really good for music and sometimes kind of like difficult in other scenarios. For example, if I'm listening to anything, I have to identify the song, the key, the chords before I can actually have a normal conversation and things like that. But yes, I believe that the music skills that I have massively helps with trend forecasting, because it's pattern recognition. And when you look at technology and the way that things move and the way that we move with it, it is kind of like a music composition. There is some sense to it. You can guess the next in the sequence, which is what I found myself doing.
I totally agree, and that's such an interesting way of looking at it. Like, I've never heard somebody describe, like, you know, that pattern as like a composition, but like, you're kind of right, especially in a world where, you know, people struggle to see how technology and creative, you know, practices can come together. Like, they think it's one or the other, but you're right, like it can be a unity thing and it can be in harmony. So what were your like first experiments with AI in music? Because I imagine you were like one of the first really to start messing around with that.
I definitely was among the first tranche of people using AI music composing tools before it was as intuitive as writing a sentence and music coming out. So during lockdown, I and quite a few other people had time on our hands. One of my main things I was fascinated by was this AI music creation, something called style transfer, where you make one person sing in the style of another person. And I've been doing that on the piano for years. I'd play Mozart in the style of Bob Marley, for example, and I can do that naturally. But I was always fascinated by how machines could do it, because they were really quite bad at it at first, and then it started to change around 2020. If you had a modicum of coding knowledge and determination and hours of time where you're not sleeping, then you could start to create AI music. So in 2020, I made the Beatles sing Call Me Maybe.
I just make you, baby, baby. But here's my number. Call me, baby.
And it took 10 hours of processing to make 1 minute of music. And that was every
Wow.
20 minutes I had to press a button to choose the next 3 seconds, which next 3 seconds made the most sense. So I was using my musical background to help this technology make a musical decision. So, but because I was working with remote servers, every 20 minutes it would generate 3 seconds and I would have to make my choice. 10 hours overnight of 20 minutes every 20 minutes is a torturous thing to do. Most parents or people who've done late night projects or all night hackathons, you're all going to know this feeling. At 4 in the morning, you have this kind of manic sense of, yes, I've solved the world. And then you're exhausted. And then you think none of this makes any sense. And in this case, at the end of it, I had about a minute's worth of the Beatles singing Call Me Maybe. And it sounded really strangely convincing. Stop and start, cut and paste. It's hard. But as you and I both know and have bonded over, we don't let something being difficult stop us. We just keep
No.
going, don't we? And so that's what
Yeah.
we did. And then the birth of Chat GPT, I was on the beta for GPT-2, and
Ooh,
that was really interesting
I
playing.
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I now give talks in primary schools and libraries on how AI works, just to give people an idea of how to understand this technology and work with it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fascinating area.
It really is, and I'm glad that you're like there telling people about it, because of course a lot of people don't understand it to that level and they find it really daunting, like especially in like creative spaces like I was saying. Have you ever faced any criticism of like AI in creative spaces?
For me, I'm very lucky in that I've always been in the position of expert. And
Mm.
I believe that AI, like any technology, can be used for good or bad. It's like a car, or even
Yeah.
more accurately, like a road. And you need to look both ways before you cross a road. You need to be educated before you can use the road. If you understand the road, it stops being something that's scary and unknown, and you can understand both the pitfalls and the incredible things that a road allows you to do. For example, you can get very quickly from one place to the other, but you do need to have a map. You do need to know where you're going. You do need to be aware of other road users. You do need to be aware of any rules or regulations that mean that you can use this safely. I've always been very careful to take into account everyone's thoughts. I met a lady who was given an iPad by her children, an older lady, and she didn't know what to do with it. And I showed her that what you can do with this iPad is use the camera to clip recipes from your magazines without having to cut your magazines out. And
Mm-hmm.
just that simple use of the camera gave her an opportunity to see how that technology could benefit. That engagement meant that she was able to stay in touch with her children much more easily. In terms of anti, perhaps I don't get that because I don't evangelize over a technology with no thought to the responsibility involved. So I understand a lot of
Mm-hmm.
what's going on the internet subculture that's going on,
Yeah.
the bots using AI to put incendiary content online. There's a lot
Mm.
of bad actors who are stoking fear and hatred online. But that's, I think, always been the case. It's just with AI
Yeah.
scale. I think also that a lot of people in the world don't feel looked after. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's really difficult to,
Yeah.
to bear that in mind and be aware of just how lucky we are to be where we are.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I feel lucky to have a seat at the table where all these powerful people will listen to somebody who wants to talk about empathy, kindness, compassion, inclusivity, thoughtfulness, creativity, and all of those things. I think growing up the way I did, living the life that I've lived, and being as sensitive to the world as I am, maybe I feel like I'm in the right place to maybe make things better.
And you definitely are. Like, feel no imposter syndrome saying that, because you 100% are. Like, even just listening to you speak, and I've had some amazing people on the podcast, and that's one thing they always go back to. It's like there's a lot of fear mongering, but it's because people don't often hear about all the good, you know what I mean? And every single person I've spoken to when approached with that subject are very vocal about how ethics, responsibility is very, very much at the forefront. And yeah, I think we hear a lot more horror stories than good. Sometimes I feel like I'm like a token at some of the tech events I've been to, where there is a lot of like AI and things like that. And then people get to see like physical engineering, like prosthetics, and could be scared of AI, but then you can't deny the good it's doing, especially when, you know, it's enabling so many people to like live better lives. Like people with disabilities are being able to like be propelled forward with technology like this, and that's the stuff people don't hear about.
When you showed me your latest model where you can do all the kind of cool Bluetoothy stuff and all the kind of movements, I think that is just like, it's remarkable, it's cool, I want to play. I was like, come on, let's do some music together, let's do
Yeah,
there's so many ways that you can approach this kind of augmentation.
yeah, I love that, and it's exciting. And how cool would it be if we could like play music via like these EEGs? Like I could trigger something, and you know it has a sound like that anyway. And in making my own music, I'm desperate to be able to like incorporate that as some sort of like synth sound or like a bass, you know.
No, you could use, if you've got your 4 fingers, they can actually be a graphic equalizer. If you think about the way that you shape your fingers, you can actually turn the bass up and the treble up, for example, and you can directly affect any music if you were to run it through that. Something like that would be really easy to do, and it would just, like, if you're DJing, you could be playing, and then just when you're transitioning between songs, you can put your hand up and like, I'm going to just take the bass out, I'm going to turn the filter, I'm going to do all of that. That's going to make you 100 times more cool than a DJ that doesn't have access to that sort of integration. Then suddenly everyone's going to want like an extra hand.
Well, I suppose that's the problem, though, isn't it? When everybody wants it, like it's like, oh,
Well,
no, we're
it's
not.
become cheaper because everyone
Yeah.
wants it, and then
Yeah.
then the technology starts to move forward more, and it's
Yeah.
democratizing it and destigmatizing as well. Which, so yeah, I mean, what for you? What was the spark that made you think, actually, I don't want this to be functional, I want this to be awesome? Do you remember?
I was never given the choice growing up. Like, I think it was very much, this is what's on the market. Function was very much our priority at the start. And when I went to like receive my first, hang on, I'm going to get my little 2 fingers out, quotation mark, my first prosthetic.
The effort of, hang on, I'm going to do the quotation.
Yeah, but didn't that just make it so much better?
Yes, it did. It added proper emphasis.
But yeah, like we were looking for function and super excited to receive the first prosthetic, and that was a glove. And we were like, how does it work? And they were like, oh no, it doesn't. You just stick it on the end to like look more normal. Well, what's the point in that? So it very much was about function to kind of bite back at that and, you know, get something actually useful out there, trying to give me stuff that they think I'd want. And it was all about hiding and masking that difference, which obviously, you know, we're not about on this podcast and in this world.
I mean, it makes total sense, doesn't it? Because if you have something that just looks the part, what does that do except help you blend in?
Yeah.
And if you're not the sort of person to want to blend in, I get that. I grew up not fitting in, really, and it's only in the last decade or so that I've found that by being proud of the bits that don't fit, I'm able to have a real positive impact on the world.
Yeah.
And it's kind of exhausting, I think, having to hide. And when you're talking about having the sort of silicone hand, I just thought it's such an interesting parallel for how sometimes we make the most creative differences about ourselves smaller for fear of that recrimination, because we've been told, sit down, be quiet, don't make a scene, don't get in the way.
Yeah.
And I think there's a way to get in the way, but to do it with care and thought and empathy. You know, when I went through my chemotherapy, I said to the technology editor at the BBC, I was at the BBC at the time, I said, I want to film one of my chemo treatments. And he's like, really? Are you really? Why would you want to do that? And I said, because I was super scared before my first one, and I didn't know what to expect. And I want to help other people who are going to go through that. They thought I was completely bonkers. I did it, filmed it, and I still get emails from people saying that the video that's on the BBC website still helps people who have found it really difficult themselves. And it's something that demystifies technology, demystifies that treatment for others, removes that kind of fear.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether that's another reason that you and I get on, because we both have this sense of holding the world gently and at the same time being who we are loudly.
Yeah. No, but like that was your authenticity, and like people thought that was crazy, but you felt the urge to do it. You've done it, and that's helped and made an impact for all these other people. So that just shows like everybody has their like personal little flair, you know. And I feel like when we tap into that, we like really unlock our full potential and our full happiness as well, because like you say, you're not holding back anymore, you're just being you. And I feel like through conversations like that, that's when you can really connect to people, you know. Like you've been through so much and you're such a bundle of sun and joy. Like it's actually insane, and you would never know, you know.
I love how wise you are. And authenticity as a superpower is
For
really
sure.
resonating. That's a beautiful sentence.
Maybe that's what we'll title this.
Maybe as well. We need to do a music project together.
Speaking of DJ set with you, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I was wondering, since you are an amazing musician yourself, if you could give us a live demo here on the podcast.
Oh, well, I've got some AI music and some human music, and I'm going to play you some, and I'm going to ask you whether you think it's AI generated or real. So this is my competition for Tilly Talks Tech, called Real or Unreal. So you can play along at home. Here's your first one. Is this real or is this not real? I.e., is this real or is this AI?
Let's rock, be your best. What's next?
What do you think?
Go with that look, go on that style.
God, I'm not sure. I should know the tells of AI music really, but I have literally no idea. I'm gonna say not, just because it sounds like one that I would jam out to on like Disney Channel and that was pre-AI era. So I'm gonna say that's real.
I'm afraid
AI.
it's AI. Okay, let's try another one.
I love all your sound effects.
I try. All right, how about this one? Real or AI generated? All right, what do you think?
You see the veins popping out my head as I'm trying to like decipher. I'm gonna say real.
You are correct. That's like me in the background. I wrote that as part of a show that I did. Okay, let's do another one. All right.
Real. That one's got soul. Not that AI doesn't have soul. Well, AI doesn't have soul, but yeah.
It's AI.
Is it? Wow.
That's what's so interesting about music, in that it still has the capacity to surprise us. And we humans are very easily impressed by things, by songs that we like the sound of, by a familiarity. You could literally go "Oonts, oonts, oonts, oonts," and somebody would start dancing. I can see you're doing it as well with your head. It's like
Yeah.
you just rock along to things, and that's brilliant. But it also means that if people know this about humans, that we are easily led and easily impressed, that this is the thing that we need to be aware of when we're reading stuff online. And this sort of thing is part of the show that I do, A Musical Guide to the Future of AI, which is basically all different performance aspects. And I do quizzes like if something's real or not, and talk about how using music you can explain these really big issues with AI and technology in a way that doesn't freak people out. And so yes, thank you for playing Real or Unreal. You were brilliant.
Yay! Thank you. I do need to learn the tells. Is that something you can learn?
Yeah, I think it's totally possible to learn. I can tell you a few of the tells now. And when I do the quiz for large audiences, I also explain how you can tell. Some things are if the sequence doesn't quite fit musically, the bass line sometimes doesn't quite sound like a piece of music. There's a particular vocal compression that you can hear where it kind of goes. That sounded quite like a cat. But if you think, oh, this sounds a little bit like a cat, it's possible that there's AI. I mean, I've walked through trade shows and heard AI music blaring out of speakers like quite a while ago, and was wondering when that point comes where people are saying, actually, I can hear this. I say this as a lover of AI. I love traditional composing. I think that we as humans are compelled to make music and sound with our bodies. I think music predates language in most cultures, has
Wow.
music. If you think about how the music in our bodies, this idea that a technology is going to come along and break people's connection to music is not entirely, I don't think that's entirely what's going to happen in the future. And I think that it just means there's going to be a lot more AI music everywhere until people start to prize human-made music again.
Yeah, I suppose it's just like those trends that come in and out. Like, I mean, Brat Summer last year was heavy auto-tune, and now it's more soul. So I think that's quite reassuring for a lot of people. Like, yeah, once AI takes off in music, that doesn't mean that we're gonna stay there. Like in everything, like creative and trends in fashion, it's a circle, and it always comes back, and these things can coexist. If people want to learn how to recognize AI music, they can do that too. So yeah, it just means we'll have an abundance of music, and what's not to love about that?
Yeah, if somebody can't play an instrument, what about if they could just have this beautiful symphony in their head that AI could help them realize? And
Yeah.
we could be able to hear the most beautiful piece of music in the world from somebody that didn't have the 10,000 hours of tuition, or didn't have access to it, wasn't able to do it for whatever reason. I think with technology enabling people to be creative, it's an interesting world that we're living in at the moment. And from my knowledge of the last few years, I've noticed that companies looking to cut headcount, cut people, jobs in favor of AI, those are the ones that are really struggling now, because people are really important. And
Yeah.
at the end of everything, it's people that want to connect with other people. And so I'm cautiously optimistic that there will be a balance of understanding about where AI can be used to augment people as opposed to replace them.
For sure. And do you mind talking a little bit about, is it pronounced synesthesia?
Synesthesia.
Synesthesia. Do you
Yeah.
mind talking a little bit about that, and like how that has impacted you, and if you think that's like helped you or hindered you in your career and what you do now?
Synesthesia is a neurological condition where the senses are mixed together. For example, you hear some music and you see colours. You taste something, you can hear a song. You look at something and it triggers music. And it, for me, has been a source of surprise to find out that other people didn't have this brain. So I grew
Sure.
up thinking, oh, why am I struggling so much with the world? Why am I finding everything so overwhelming? how can this person sit and eat this food when the wallpaper is so loud? Many people have a certain amount of it, and some of us have this intense response, like I do, which gives me the skill to see patterns everywhere, to memorize things really quickly, to do weird stuff like solve the Rubik's Cube, because I attach a musical note to each.
You mean cool stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, is it really? I think so, but not everyone does that. I know everyone's got a thing. For me, it was this light switch had gone on that actually this brain that I've been fighting with, why can't it be like everybody else, was suddenly this, actually, why don't you explore what you can do? So yes, in some respects, synesthesia is an absolute gift. I've been interviewed in the New York Times about it. I've given talks. I did a performance in Tokyo about it. And I find that connection between, say, landscapes and music, or food and sound, and all of those things gives me a unique viewpoint that people want to hear about. I'm lucky enough now to see it as something incredible, and I feel that we're all artists in our own way. If you look at the intense creativity that you've had ever since you were small, and how you've managed to harness that creativity and resilience and do remarkable things, changing the outlook for so many people on what it means to be prosthetically augmented, as opposed to fixing a disability.
Yeah, and like no, that makes total sense to me, and I feel exactly the same way. I obviously, as long as I remember myself, have had like no hands and stuff like that, and I always say in my own presentations as well, because people see it up front and it's like a disability, but like I don't think if I could, I would go back in time and change it or anything like that. Like, yes, it presents a lot of challenges. It is a physical disability, but at the same time, it's completely and utterly made me who I am. And when I think about if I hadn't lost my hands or started any of this journey, I will literally spiral, because I feel like it's a part of every aspect of my life today. And yeah, I mean, it gets to the point where you turn that pain into purpose, like you've done, that you wouldn't take it back. And through that, a lot of people can hear your voice and your story. They can resonate with that, and it pushes them forward and to be the best version of themselves as well. This has been such a lovely conversation, and I would love to end on that note. Kind of, I have two quick fire questions for you. Ooh. First of all, I feel like what you said has been very reassuring to the people who, before this interview, couldn't see how technology, AI, and music and creativity could come together. But I feel like we've done enough to maybe turn that perspective around, if anybody is feeling that. And for anybody who wants to get into AI, particularly in creative spaces, what do you think they should know? Or what do you think they should try first to, play around with it?
Great question. Everyone talks about ChatGPT. Everyone's heard of that. Many chatbots are around: Gemini, Claude, TalkPal is one. I would say it's absolutely fine to play with these things. Adobe has Firefly, Canva has image drawing software that you can use. The main thing I would say is don't put your personal information into these chatbots, into these models, into these engines. We don't quite understand what's happening with personal information, but in terms of creative thinking, ideas for stuff, yeah, go right on ahead and have a conversation. If you want to get into more of the developing side, have a look online. There's tons of courses available starting in AI, and I think it's more accessible than you think. This idea of learning, it's meant to be uncomfortable. We're meant to make mistakes and get it wrong. That's the thing that happens before we get it right. So I would say, yes, go right out there and give it a try. And you can always find me or Tilly online. I'm sure we'd be able to help direct you as well.
Okay, and final question. What excites you the most about the next 5 to 10 years in tech and creativity? What have we got to look forward to?
Oh, such a good question.
Loaded question.
I feel like we are at a tipping point where we have this great responsibility as the first users of AI to train it back. That means sharing positive, thoughtful things on social media, which is being scraped by these models. This means that our generation has the opportunity to input by stealth into these models by creating positive, thoughtful, inclusive, friendly, empathic content. And part of that is going to be music and creativity. And part of that's just going to be whatever we're doing in our social settings. So I think my cautious optimism would be to think more about what we're sharing and whether it's going to contribute positively. And perhaps that might nudge things away from the current climate where people are feeling let down and left out. We have the opportunity to show the world that there's a better way, and that involves training the machines back. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, and I feel like you've set them a mission, you know, you give them advice and you set them a mission, and we all want a positive future at the end of the day, and we are training these, you know, machines now, so we might as well make that an absolute priority that, you know, what we're putting into these machines is all good, and yeah, hopefully that can even benefit us in the future. And like you said, anyone has any questions, they can find us on socials. You've got so many projects, you're always here, there and everywhere, so for anybody who wants to stay up to date with you, where can we find you on socials? Give yourself a plug.
Oh wow, well I've got a really cool project that's not finished yet, so I'm not really ready to talk about that, but what I can do is tell you to find me on Linktree. I'm LJ Rich on Linktree. This is LJ Rich on Instagram, and I am LJ Rich on YouTube. I'm just generally LJ Rich on most things. Find me.
Type her name. She's an important lady. You just need to put her name in, and all of this will come up.
But the main thing is we're easy to find. We're people that are easy to find. It's been such a pleasure to share this time with you. I feel like there's so many more things we can talk about.
I know.
We just need to hang out more. That's really
we do. And yeah, hopefully one day we can do a little spin-off episode. We can get in the booth together and we can see what we can do. That would be epic.
Oh, so many things we can do.
Thank you so much, LJ, for chatting to me. I will let you go now, but you've been an absolute dream. Thanks for being a guest on the podcast. Bye.
Bye.
She is so flippin' cool. Who knows when I'm going to be bumping into her next, but I honestly think it'll be before the end of the year, because when I say she's everywhere, I mean it. But yeah, I hope that helped and gave some perspective of somebody who is using AI and is very in love with the way music is and always has been, and I hope that reassures people that the connection between humans and music is never going to be overruled or undermined. Hopefully. Thank you so much for listening. I've been Tilly, that was LJ. Please do follow her on socials, and here's a little teaser for the next episode. She is at the forefront of bringing beauty and technology together. I'm talking about colour-changing tattoos that react to your body's chemistry. I'm talking about conductive hair extensions that can send signals to your phone. I'm talking about paying for things with the blink of an eye, because your eyelashes are conductive, of course. If anyone knows anything about me, I am a sucker for makeup tutorials. It was actually one of the things that taught me to use my Comms when I was first practicing with such dexterity, you know. Doing an eyeliner wing is kind of hard. I love doing my makeup with my Comms, and that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to beauty and technology colliding. So, buckle up and get a drink, because today we're talking to the queen who is pioneering the world of beauty technology.